Bill Gates is perhaps the most famous man on the planet. The renowned investor and philanthropist is known primarily for founding the technological giant Microsoft. But he is also known to be the richest person in the world for the longest time. Even today, Gates occupies the fourth spot on the world's richest index with a net worth of $128 billion. Gates has been in the investment game for a long time, and therefore his stock portfolio is subject to curiosity around the world. When we look at his portfolio, we actually enter the investing mind of Bill Gates. And because the billionaire doesn't speak too much about the market like other investment gurus, only his investment portfolio tells us about his temperament about the market. And looking at his holdings and trading activities in the last quarter, it isn't too difficult to figure out his thoughts regarding the current market scenario. The billionaire mogul has sold or reduced stock in at least 12 positions this past quarter with no buys to counter. This clearly implies that Bill Gates is bearish about the economy. In this video, we will try to analyze Gates' recent portfolio and know what's on his mind. If you are an investor, this video is not something that you would want to miss. So stay tuned while we divulge the matter for you. The stocks he has sold in entirety. Alphabet. Some of the stocks that Gates has sold in the last quarter might surprise you. His pattern is entirely in contrast with other investors. Gates actually sold over 62,000 shares of Alphabet Incorporated. This constituted the entire 100% of his holdings in the company. Alphabet, as you all might know, is the parent company of Google and is one of the tech behemoths of the 21st century. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which is co-owned by Bill Gates and his ex-wife Melinda, sold 62 A-class shares and the same amount of C-class shares in the company. Alphabet has different classes of stocks, each represented by a particular class. Class A shares, which Gates sold off, is the stock type that is typically held by a regular investor with regular voting rights. Class C stock owners do not have voting rights and are typically held by employees and some other stockholders. The crux is that Bill Gates exited 100% of his holdings in Alphabet. Grupo Televisa S.A. Gates also sold off his entire stake in Grupo Televisa S.A. He previously held around 7 million shares in the company, which was valued at $65 million. Grupo Televisa is a Mexican multimedia company. As a major Latin American media corporation, Grupo Televisa often presents itself as the largest producer of Spanish-language content. Canadian Pacific Railway. Next up is the Canadian Pacific Railway stock that Gates sold off completely. He offloaded over 2 million held shares in the company. The Canadian Pacific Railway Corporation deals with transportation services with supply chain expertise. It has access to 8 major ports in several key markets across North America. While the company's prospects look good on paper, Gates must have thought that the stock has outlived its utility on his balance sheet. Stocks which Gates has sold partially. Crown Castle International. These were the positions that were entirely offloaded from Gates' portfolio. However, he has also just trimmed down some of his holdings to varying degrees in the last quarter. Like in the case of the Real Estate Investment Trust, Crown Castle International Corporation, Gates sold off over 3 million shares, reducing his position in Crown Castle Corporation by almost 3 million shares. Gates owned 4.56 million shares in the firm, which is now down to only 1.42 million shares, currently valued at $262 million. Crown Castle International Corporation is a real estate investment trust company which engages in the provision of access to wireless infrastructure via long-term contacts. UPS. Another reduction in the Gates portfolio was made in the United Parcel Service. The company is an American multinational that is involved in shipping and supply chain management. Bill Gates owned roughly 2.28 million shares of the firm. He decreased his holdings by 68% in the first quarter of 2022. As of now, he owns only 741,000 shares of United Parcel Service, with a price tag of $158.8 million. The Atlanta-based firm, which provides logistics and package delivery services in the United States and across the globe, won't be too happy about this, but it can take solace from the fact that Gates has also invested his stocks in UPS rival FedEx. FedEx. In the same way as he sold his UPS stocks, Gates also sold his FedEx stocks. Gates has reduced his position in the courier company by 65%. Gates owned 1.49 million shares of FedEx Corporations in the last quarter. As of now, he owns only 534,000 shares in the firm at a price of $123.6 million, representing 0.62% of its total portfolio. This is a pretty interesting development because UPS specializes mainly in domestic ground package delivery and has a larger fleet of ground vehicles. FedEx, on the other hand, specializes mainly in global air express freight and has even doubled the airplanes as compared to UPS. Selling off considerable positions in both companies might say something about Gates' thoughts regarding package deliveries both domestically and abroad. It's definitely something to keep an eye out for if you're an active investor. Walmart Incorporated. Moving on with the reduced positions on the Gates portfolio, we also have Walmart Incorporated. Now, everybody knows about Walmart. The American multinational retail corporation operates a chain of hypermarkets and departments all over the United States. Gates has reduced his position by 4 million shares, and that accounts for about 57% of his total holdings in that position. As of now, Walmart Incorporated stocks represent only 2.27% of Bill Gates' portfolio for the first quarter of 2022, with 3.02 million shares valued at roughly $450 million. Now comes the real surprise. Reducing stakes in the aforementioned companies is a different thing. But what comes as a big surprise is the reduction of stake by Bill Gates in Microsoft. The tech giant is Gates' own brainchild. He is the founder. And still, he has chosen to offload a good chunk of the Microsoft stock.
It's well designed in that respect.
It's like a casino.
As we all know, in the wake of an investigation into the billionaire's romantic relationship with a female employee, Bill Gates had to leave the Microsoft board in 2020. The founder and former head of the U.S. technology giant stepped down as board chair in March 2020. Gates has since retired from the day-to-day functioning of Microsoft and focuses his efforts on his philanthropic causes through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And now, the billionaire mogul has sold almost 1 million shares of Microsoft, resulting in a reduction of 51.25% in his holdings. Many would think that this is a stock Gates would never sell. However, it seems all is fair in love and war, and more so in business. Obviously, he can get this wealthy by being sentimental about a particular stock. It's all calculated. Caterpillar Incorporated. And from here, it only gets even more interesting because the reductions that Gates has made to his portfolio are some of his long-held stocks. Gates reduced his stake in Caterpillar Inc. by almost 24%. He dissolved over 2 million shares in the company. To those who don't know, Caterpillar Incorporated is an American Fortune 100 corporation that designs and manufactures heavy equipment used for mining, agriculture, and energy. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation holds over 9.68 million shares of Caterpillar, with a market value of more than $2 billion. Caterpillar has a market cap of $113.60 billion. It is a desired stock and a long-term hold of Mr. Gates, which is why a reduction in the position is quite interesting to note. Deere & Co. Another position that was reduced by Gates was in Deere & Co. Much like the previously mentioned Caterpillar Incorporated, Deere & Company also deals in heavy equipment manufacturing by the brand name John Deere. Gates' stock in the company was reduced by 12.96%, selling off about 134,000 shares. It only seems that Gates does not see a bright future in the equipment manufacturing industry, considering his divestments in Caterpillar and Deere. The last sell-off in Bill Gates' portfolio for the first quarter of the year is his position in Berkshire Hathaway. Now Berkshire Hathaway is owned by Warren Buffett, as we all know. Buffett has been a longtime friend of Gates, and even more than that, his company is growing tremendously. So this divestment is quite surprising. Gates sold 5 million shares of the stock, accounting for a reduction of about 14.84% in his total holdings of the position. Buffett certainly won't be too impressed with this. These sell-outs by Gates show his sentiments about the current market. With Gates selling so much of his stocks, One can say that he anticipates the market to be turbulent. Gates' mindset is clearly bearish, and this isn't something new. Gates might be warning of another crisis like the one in 2008. In 2018, when Bill Gates was asked if he thought there might be another such financial crisis, he offered a really blunt response. He hinted that another crisis might be around the corner. Many other market gurus like Peter Schiff are also echoing the same sentiments. Coming from the world's richest investors, this fact is quite unsettling for the investors and might be one of the indicators of an impending market crash in the near future. Gates has sold his positions in the technology sector, including his very own Microsoft, and even reduced his service delivery positions in UPS and FedEx, along with divestments in the equipment manufacturers as well. It can be said that Gates might be hinting that these areas would be most affected by a market crash. However, only time will tell about this. No one can truly predict the stock market. But when such a prolific investor dilutes his stock, alarm bells are sure to ring. Let's see what happens. Meanwhile, tell us what you think about this dilution of stocks by Bill Gates. Do you also think a market crash is impending? Hit the comment section. Also, press the like button if you like the provided information. And tap share to share this with your fellow investor friends. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel. We will be back soon with another interesting video.